Good afternoon to all of you. For those who just joined us, we would like to welcome you all to our online conference entitled APEFA Erasmus Europe, a step for adult education development. My name is Ara Souza, and in behalf of APEFA, I would like to thank you all for joining us online, this time not only in Portugal, but also from several countries like Italy. But also to thank all our viewers from Portugal, since Miranda do Douro until Algarve, and also from Madeira Island. This online conference is the second activity of a plan that was created with the purpose of celebrating the 10th anniversary of our association, Associação Nacional de Educação e Formação de Adultos, Aprendências. In English, Portuguese Association for Adult Education and Training, Aprendências, shortened APEFA. APEFA was created in the 22nd of October of 2011 by a group of young people with the purpose of developing adult education in our country. These 10 years have been of really hard work, but we have a saying in Portugal that says, "Who likes to run never gets tired." So these last 10 years have been of hard work, in fact, but we always kept a smile on our faces. So in order to celebrate the 10th anniversary of APEFA, we created a motto: 10 years, 10 months, 10 proposals or activities. So every month until the 22nd of October, that is the precise date of APEFA's foundation, we'll be hosting an activity at the 22nd of each month. I also like to say that considering that the main goal of this afternoon event is to share with you the several international projects in which APEFA is involved, this event will be happening in English. And now, after this introduction, I will briefly present the program for this afternoon. We will begin with the Vice President of APEFA, Alzira Mendes. After, we'll be watching the presentation of Helena, a member of the board of APEFA, that will present us the K1 project. After Helena's presentation, we'll be listening to Rafael Martins, da Escola Básica da Torre da Madeira, on the presentation Juntos Aprendemos, Ensinamos e Ajudamos. Together we help, teach and learn. Next, we'll be listening from Luís Oliveira from Querigma, our colleague and partners from the One Project, that are going to share with us precisely the Project One. After, Eugênio Inácio from Erasmus Plus National Agency with a presentation entitled Transnational Cooperation in Adult Education through Erasmus Plus. And finally, we'll have Martina Nikilaki from the Directorate General Employment of European Commission with the presentation Adult Education Beyond the COVID-19 Pandemic. In behalf of APEFA, I would like to thank you all once again for accepting the invitation to be present here with us this afternoon and share your knowledge and expertise. Now, I will ask Alzira Mendes, Vice President of APEFA, to address you all. Alzira, if you please.
Já está, ok. Thank you very much, Zara. Muito boa tarde a todos quantos estão conosco nesta conferência internacional online, APEFA Erasmus Europa, um passo para o desenvolvimento da educação de adultos. Como já foi dito, a conferência vai decorrer em inglês, visto tratar-se de um evento de âmbito internacional. Pedimos a todos vós a vossa compreensão, pois tratando-se de um evento internacional, esta foi a opção que escolhemos de transmitir a conferência diretamente em língua inglesa. Hello everyone in Europe and in Portugal. Thank you very much for joining us in this international conference organized by APEFA. APEFA, Portuguese Association for Adult Education and Training, has been involved in the field of adult education and training since 2011. The objectives of APEFA work are the promotion, study, and valorization of permanent and lifelong adult education and training. In order to achieve these objectives, APEFA developed several activities, namely bringing together researchers, teachers, adult educators, adult education learners, adult education providers, and promoting bodies of lifelong learning. APEFA encourages yet the creation of working groups that develop reflection on the problems inherent to development and promotion of adult education in our country. APEFA promote and disseminate adult education and training and instill in Portuguese society the strategic importance of lifelong learning for the exercise of participatory citizenship and community development, namely within bodies, institutions of local and regional development and of local, regional, and national political power. Since 2018, APEFA has been involved in European projects to develop the internationalization dimension. This means that after a few years of working only at national level, it is now important for us and for our association to cross borders in order to develop the dimension of European cooperation. We are all European citizens, and it's very important for us to understand adult education in Europe, seeing how European adult education organizations work and sharing practice in this field. We believe that adult education is a very important sector. The work with low-skilled adults is a very important step to inclusion and to a more equitable society and therefore more socially balanced. Now, APEFA participates in 3 Erasmus projects, the 3 projects that will be presented in this conference. We have one Kiashan 1 project, another one Kiashan 1 as member of a consortium, and APEFA is still a partner in the one Kiashan 3 project. Well, we will have the presentation of our 3 projects, as well as the Erasmus plus Portuguese National Agence and the European Commission, as our colleagues are said. And welcome and thank you very much to everyone. Welcome and thank you very much also to our speakers. Thanks.
Thank you, Alzira. Thank you very much for allowing us to know the goals of APEFA concerning internationalization for the few years, because it's really important that we know that knowing other practices, exchanging practices, it's really important for upgrading and know better about agile education. Now I'm going to ask Domingos to share with us the presentation of Helena Bernardo, the member of the board at APEFA, whose presentation is about the K1 project entitled Education and Training of Adults, Structuring Pillar for Participatory Citizenship in a Society 4.0. Domingos, if you please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our APEFA's conference. My name is Helena Bernardo, and I am here to tell you a bit about our project, our Erasmus project called Education and Training of Adults, Structuring Pillar for Participatory Citizenship in a Society 4.0. APEFA is the Portuguese Association for Adult Education and Training. It is a non-profit association of national scope, and it has been involved with adult education since 2011. And its purposes are to promote study, defense, and valorization and development of lifelong adult education and training. And since it was created in 2011, we are now celebrating our 10th year anniversary, and we have created activities every 22nd of each month until the 22nd October 2021. APEFA and Erasmus, actually Erasmus plays an important role within APEFA because we aim at learning more about what's being done in other countries across Europe. We hope to share experience with people and associations from other countries, and we also want to create a network of contacts for future actions. And Erasmus contributes positively to our work groups that we have for the development and promotion of adult education, for the implementation of innovative and pedagogical experiences, and also for our research projects. So, the project I want to tell you about is the one I told you before, education and training of adults as a structuring pillar for participatory citizenship in a society 4.0. It's a Key Action 1 project from 2020 to 2021. Because of the pandemic, we got an extension of a 6-month extension, and the project is now finishing in 2022. The goals of or the objectives of this specific project, it comes as a continuity of the work that we have initiated with Erasmus 2018. And the theme was the European contributions to create and implement an integrated model of adult education in Portugal. And our main objectives are to empower our staff, because we are going to be face-to-face with different people from different countries and different associations. And that helps to foster critical reflection on our current practices. And we will hope to incorporate those contributions collected all over Europe into our organization's internal practice. So the goal and the objectives as far as the directors of the corporate bodies, the members of the Studies and Strategy Office, and the Association's Advisory Council are to become documented with the knowledge about the state of the art as far as adult education is concerned all over Europe, and to know more about the models that have been implemented in education and training throughout Europe. And this will allow us to identify future trends and make it possible to incorporate in our education and training conceptual principles. And it will make the participants aware of the determination and importance of culture and heritage in the process of lifelong learning. The goals for another group of people also within APEFA, the professionals in the field of adult education, the Qualifica centers and promoters and trainers, are to engage in specific training and learning event and courses, and to promote opportunities for reflection and also sharing, because when we share, we learn a lot. We share our experience, and we hope to get the experience of other people from other countries. Of course, we will also be able to create online communities and network for future cooperations. The project has, we have 17 mobilities It comprises 17 mobilities, 8 training courses, and we chose countries from Western Europe, Central Europe, Eastern Europe, Scandinavia, Mediterranean, and Baltic countries. That means we've chosen courses in countries from all over Europe, and that has an objective. They are geographically distributed to obtain the knowledge of what is happening with social mobilization, the models, the forms of adult education all over Europe. So from one end to another, from north to south, east to west, we want to know what is happening all over Europe. And so for each training course, we have set, we try to set a team of people that has different functions or different types of cooperation with Europe. So we have courses, we've chosen courses that are, for example, the 21st century approach to adult education, digital storytelling, communication and marketing strategies for effective teaching and learning, consulting and development of teams and groups. So some of the courses are more for one group of people, members of the board, and the other are for other groups of people like the trainers and the Qualifica Center cooperators. And we have been preparing some activities, the preparation activities for the project. We are preparing language support activities. That means written and spoken English workshops. Of course, before each mobility, we will research the culture and of each country of destination. We will also obviously do the activities or promote the activities consigned by the host entities. And we have also been doing conferences, workshops, and seminars to prepare ourselves for our mobilities. The dissemination activities as far as results, knowledge, will be directed to the board of the association, of course, to the members of Studies and Strategy Office, and to the advisory board. And this will prepare and implement a national plans with different formats of dissemination for associates and stakeholders. And these activities will include conferences, workshops, seminars, or simple online meetings, or rather meetings in person. That's what we would prefer. The impacts we hope to achieve is to learn about the courses, of course, the syllabus, the topic of the courses, but also to find out more about the practices in Europe, the best practices in Europe as far as adult education is concerned. We hope Erasmus courses act as triggers for the adoption of innovative, creative, and inclusive work strategies and methodologies. We hope to incorporate European reference standards and the knowledge of what is being done in other countries. We hope to use that to influence policymakers, and we hope it has a direct impact on professionals who work in adult education and training. And so here we are at the end of my presentation, and I've made this gallery with pictures, with images of previous Erasmus projects, and we hope we'll be as successful as we have been in the past. So thank you so much for your attention. and hope you enjoyed my presentation and the whole conference.
Thank you, Elena. Yes, we did enjoy a lot your presentation. Thank you for sharing with us the experience of APEFA concerning the K1 project. It's really important for us to gather information and knowledge of what is happening in other countries regarding adult education. I would like to remember that during the presentations that are going to happen, all viewers that are joining us through Facebook or YouTube who are welcome to ask questions. If possible, in the end, if there are no problems concerning timing, we'll be glad to answer them. Continuing with Rafael Martins, from the beautiful island of Madeira, precisely Escola Básica da Torre, is presenting Juntos Aprendemos, Ensinamos e Ajudamos. Translating, together we help, teach and learn. This is a KA1 action. It's a partnership between APEFA, Escola Básica da Torre, but also Aberta University. Rafael, if you please. Falta o som, Rafael. Obrigado.
Okay. Right. Good afternoon to all. I'd like to begin by thanking APEFA for the opportunity to present our project and activities to the audience of this international conference, and also to congratulate them on the initiative and on their 10th anniversary. Let me see if I can share with you. Is that okay? All right. So during the next 10 minutes, I will talk about the project Together We Help Teach and Learn. This is an Erasmus Plus project, Key Action 104, Adult Education and Staff Mobility. So, Escola Básica dos Segundos e Terceiros Ciclos da Torre is the coordinating institution of this European project. This public school has got a lot of experience in adult education, and it has been participating in European projects since 2004. Improving the quality of adult training is our main goal. In 2017, the school won the Portuguese National Agency's Good Practice Award. The team of trainers of the adult education and training courses is very cohesive, with a lot of experience and great openness to participate in European projects. This public school in Câmara de Lobos, Madeira Island, is located in an area marked by many social inequalities and economic problems. A considerable number of its inhabitants have low levels of qualification, and this reality has led to the implementation of the adult education and training courses since 2009. Over the past few years, these courses have carried out very diverse activities involving the adult trainees, their families, and other institutions. The project Together We Help Teach and Learn aims to gather the efforts of 3 institutions that are now represented in our local town in Madeira. The coordinating school, which I have just presented, the Madeira delegation of APEFA, Portuguese Association for Adult Education and Training, and the local learning center in Câmara de Lobos of Universidade Aberta. Universidade Aberta is the only public distance education university in Portugal. As far as staff mobilities are concerned, several structured courses were carefully selected across Europe on the following areas: interculturality, lifelong learning, fighting digital illiteracy, formal, informal, and non-formal methods in adult education. Unfortunately, the COVID-19 outbreak has negatively affected plant mobility activities under the Erasmus Plus program. The consortium chose to await better public health and safety conditions, so no mobilities were made yet. Well, while we wait, we turn to our own knowledge and to our partners to offer meaningful learning opportunities to adult learners and communities. All our initiatives can be found on our website, which I invite you to visit. I will leave the link on the chat. I'll just briefly point out some activities we were able to organize since September 2020. APEFA and Escola da Torre joined efforts with several local authorities for a week of activities to mark the end of September, month of literacy and literacies. Conferences were held, an online premiere of a documentary filmed by our adult students, the launching of a book about traditional oral literature gathered by our adult learners. And I should also point out that some of the activities were carried out in the Madeira Press Museum to allow distancing measures, and that the closing session had the presence of the president of the Regional Assembly of Madeira and the online participation of Mr. Armando Loureiro of APEFA. At Escola da Torre, we have organized activities to celebrate the European Day of Languages and also the Erasmus Days. Here we have another example of an activity organized for adult learners, an online conference about road safety with the collaboration of our local police force. This conference took place last November and posed some logistic challenges in its organization. As you can see in the pictures, due to safety measures, because of the pandemic, the speaker was online, our more independent students were at home, and the others were at school participating through our digital boards. Something we have to do now in order to still promote learning, even if we have to do it online. We also have organized for our adult learners online conferences about human rights and gender equality. The next activity I'm showing you was a show cooking of French cuisine, and this was organized for a limited number of participants when safety measures still permitted it. We have also organized online training offers for adult education staff about citizenship, education, and gender violence prevention in school. So a number of adult trainers are now learning more and debating about this subject. To end my presentation, I'd just like to say that with this project, the institutions involved intend to provide staff training opportunities, contributing to the acquisition of new skills in adult education, and also to intervene more actively in society, mainly in disadvantaged adult audiences. Now, I thank you for your time, but before we continue with the conference, I'll just take one more minute of your time. I'd like to show you firsthand one example of several one-minute videos we will soon be releasing on our social media networks. They are a small outcome of our work with adult learners in the areas of health and digital literacy, while also improving their skills in English language. While they explored the World Health Organization website in English for information about the pandemic, they chose several WHO posters with information they thought important to talk about. So I will just play the video. It's in Portuguese and in English, and I hope you enjoy it.
Este cartaz é para o público em geral. É sobre máscaras e atividade física. A atividade física regular pode ajudar a dar uma rotina aos nossos dias e é uma boa prática de saúde mental, reduzindo o risco de depressão. Durante o exercício, não devemos usar máscara, pois torna a respiração difícil. Mantenha apenas o distanciamento das outras pessoas. This poster is for general public. It's about masks and physical activity. Regular physical activity can help give our days a routine. It's also good for our mental health, reducing the risk of depression. During the exercise, we should not use a mask because it makes breathing difficult. Just keep your distance from other people.
Okay, so hope you have enjoyed it. It was made by our adult students.
Thank you very much, Rafael. Thank you for the video, for sharing it with us. And of course, thank you for the presentation that shared with us what have you done, the purposes of your project, the tasks that are already been developed, and the other tasks that unfortunately, due to the COVID-19 outbreak, are still standing by. But this times like this of the COVID-19, it also demands of all of us that we transform ourselves and transform our regular activities, our day-by-day activities, by doing them online, for example, in order to accomplish the goals that we defined on the first place. APEFA is proud of being part of this project with you because it's important for us to be present and involved in activities concerning adult education through all national territory. And Madeira Island it's really important for us to be present in the islands and all in the national territory. Now we'll be listening to Luís Oliveira from Querigma about the ONE project. ONE opening adult education networks to European cooperation. Luisa, if you please.
Okay, thank you, Zara. Good afternoon to all. My name is Luisa, like Zara said, and I am part of the international projects department of Querigma. And today we are here as partners of APEFA in the project called ONE, Opening Adult Education Networks to European Cooperation, supported by the Erasmus Plus program of the European Union. First of all, I would like to thank the invitation and on behalf of Querigma to participate in this conference and congratulate APEFA for this 10th anniversary and for its precious work in all these years of 10 years of work in adult education. So I will share my screen just to see. Sorry. Okay. Let's see. I don't know if you are seeing. Yes?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So, to begin, I would just like to give a brief presentation of Querigma. So, Querigma, Institute for Innovation and Social development of Barcelos. His mission is to promote integrate development of individuals, organizations, and communities by creating innovative services and products that contribute to a more active citizenship, solidarity, and social cohesion. Through the departments of international projects, professional training, Office for Equality, Agence for Internship, Qualifica Center, and Office for Professional Insertion. And now I will present a brief summary of the project we are part of. So, as I have already said, the project is called ONE, Opening Adult Education Networks to European Cooperation, and is a European Union program, Erasmus Plus, K Activity 3, support by policy reform. It's called Social Inclusion and Common Values, the contribution in the field of education and training. The general information, the start date for this project is 5th of January 2021, duration 36 months, and the project countries involved are Italy, Finland, Portugal, and Slovakia. From Portugal, the partners are APEFA, Portuguese Association of Adult Education and Training, and Carigma, Institute of Innovation and Social Development of Barcelos. So the core objectives of this project are general objective, providing capacity, building support to exist national and regional networks of adult education and training providers in order to put in place a more effective and impactful cooperation at European level and to overcome the fragmented nature of adult education and training provision. The specific objective, fostering cooperation and mutual learning between different providers and relevant stakeholders on specific themes in adult learning by using and enhancing the European peer review methodology in adult learning. So, the project aim. One, intends to reinforce the quality of adult learning provision and its relevance in terms of social inclusion by investing on the capacity building of 3 national networks of adult education providers in Italy, Slovakia, and Portugal. It mainly focuses on 4 core areas, which need to be improved in order to increase the quality of adult education offer and the network's efficacy in implementing European Union policy on adult learning at national and regional levels, like guidance services, reaching out the active engagement of adults in education and validation process, validation of non-formal and informal learning, and soft and basic skills for inclusion and active citizenship. So the partners of this project are Readapt, that is the coordinator from Italy, Forma ASEAN from Italy, GlobeDo for Finland, Carigma from Portugal, APEFA from Portugal, ZIOV from Slovakia, and Association of Adult Education Institutions from Slovakia too. And we are with associated partners. We have Lifelong Learning Platform by Belgium, Nordic Network for Adult Learning from Finland, Italian Coordinator for the European Agenda for Adult Learning from Italy, Trade Union Social Part from Italy, REAP from Italy, ARPA Umbria from Italy, the Ministry of Education, Science, Research and Sport of Slovak Republic, CITEB from Portugal, Training Always from Portugal, and Turisforma from Portugal. And work plan of this project is divided into three main phases. So in addition to other tasks, through the project, APEFA will be the leader of the communication and dissemination of this project, which corresponds to the third phase of the work plan. So dissemination and communication, including description of the strategy for dissemination and upscaling the good practices chosen or development of innovation, hourless rising activities, and others. So the expected results from this project are improved practice and methodologies, more mindful and impactful cooperation among adult learning providers, more structured and systemic methods incorporating both with policy makers and among networks members, increased and structured capacity to better inform the adult education system and the policy makers, and more structured staff and venues. And now, to finish, some advantage to APEFA and participate in this project. Testing new methods and tools across several European Union countries, widening the network of contacts, acquiring and developing concepts, new skills for human resources, exchanging ideas, perspectives about adult learning, and sharing and dissemination of APEFA work. And it's all. Thank you all for your attention.
Thank you, Luisa, for your presentation. We have many colleagues from the One Project that are watching. I'm sure that they have listened to you very, very carefully. These were the three projects in which APEFA is involved in order to empower the staff and disseminate these results to national partners through the several networks that APEFA have been created and developing. One of the goals of APEFA is to know more about how adult education is developed in other countries, but also to know how the other practices in other countries can help Portugal also to improve and develop adult education in our country. Now, Erasmus Plus is known by all of us that search and like to exchange practices beyond borders. And Eugenia Inácio from Erasmus Plus National Agency is going to tell us about transnational cooperation in adult education through Erasmus Plus. Eugenia, if you want, you can begin and share with us.
Thank you, Zara. Well, I wish all of you a good afternoon. Before all, and on behalf of the Portuguese Erasmus Plus National Agency, Education and Training, I, Eugenia Inácio from Adult Education Team, would like to congratulate APEFA for the 10 years of existence and also to thank for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be part of this celebration and therefore to participate in this web conference, to hear and talk about adult education. This is definitely a sector of education and training with a great importance. And all of us that work for adult education has a relevant role to contribute to its development. Well, my role in adult education has been already for almost 10 years as well, to contribute to its development in Portugal through Erasmus Plus program. Let me now share with you my presentation. Well, and here today, I would like to transmit how important is the transnational cooperation for adult education. And this is a tool that Erasmus Plus program can offer. If that is so, let's see how. Well, when we talk about adult education, as unlike to the other sectors of education and training, we need to consider all nature of learning, formal, non-formal, informal, and this universe brings the complexity of the sector that we all know. Then the Erasmus Plus program and the adult education institution can be any private organization or public organization active in the field and pay attention of non-vocational adult learning. This is sometimes not very understood by the institution, by our applicants. Then we have the transnational cooperation, which should be seen by adult education organizations as an important tool for its development. And why? Because according to the European Commission, in a general way of speaking, it enables to any organization to, listen carefully, access to the latest knowledge and the best talent worldwide. It enables organizations to business opportunities in new and emerging markets. It enables an organization to science diplomacy, to influence and enhance international policy. And this way, working together, organizations can reduce the global problems, pool resources, and achieve greater impact. So, Erasmus Plus program can be one possible answer to bring transnational cooperation to adult education organizations. Erasmus Plus is the European program, as you know, in the fields of education, training, youth, and sports for the period between 2014 to 2020. And in 2021, in the year that we are now, the European Commission will launch a new generation of this program. It offers the possibility to implement adult education project, as we have seen already, it was exposed before, referring here only the decentralized actions. This means actions managed by the national agencies located in all participating countries of the programs. That's the only that we can talk members and the employees of the national agencies. Until the last program we had, the key action 1 for mobility of individuals for education and training experiences outside of their own countries, and also under key action 2, cooperation for innovation and exchange of good practices. In particular, the project under strategic partnerships, where a group of partners from different countries need to cooperate among them to prepare, design, submit, and if approved, to implement an innovation project or an exchange of good practices project. Well, when an organization gets to know the importance of the transnational cooperation, then we can say that we have a potential applicant for Erasmus Plus program. And for that, they will need to build a strategy for internationalization of the organization, where this program can be very helpful. The new generation of the Erasmus Plus program will go for a period of 7 years, like the other generations. And this one will run between 2021 and 2027. The first generation started in 1987. The European Commission is responsible for the Erasmus Plus program and for the management of its centralized actions. And national agencies of all participating countries are responsible for the management of decentralized actions in their own country. Once this new program is approved, and we expect it to be very soon, the European Commission will launch the new generation of the program. And I would like to underline the most of the information on KA1 and KA2 mentioned here is based on the last generation of the program. But we foresee that it might be very similar. That's why we continue to disseminate the program as we know. So, the Erasmus Plus program under Adult Education, as I mentioned, will offer the possibility to participate in KA1, that is basically to get training or to offer teaching, mainly on pedagogical issues, and it was already mentioned before in those projects. It's for adult education staff, which can be anyone that is involved on formal, non-formal, and informal education within an organization. Staff can participate either in teaching and training assignments or in instructed courses or training events or even doing job sharing, all abroad. And I draw your attention to something new. That's why you see that red line on your screen. It's because the European Commission has already allowed the national agency to announce that for the first time on KA1, learners with fewer opportunities or with the disadvantages belonging to an adult education organization participating in this program will be able to integrate a mobility project. I think this is very good news for you. However, we still need to wait to see how they can participate. On KA2, transnational strategic partnerships, not only adult education institutions are allowed to participate, but also any legal organization that is strategically chosen to participate in a transnational partnership that somehow will contribute positively to this sector. Projects under KA2 can be two types, as I mentioned before, either on innovation or simply on exchange of good practices. We might have some news as well under this key action for the new program. Let's wait to see. Well, when an organization is deciding whether participate in international cooperation or not, when are analyzing the pros and cons, might be important to consider the outcomes on participating organizations. And those outcomes can be, it will lead to an increased capacity to operate at European and international level. And how does it happen? Among others, can be by improving management skills and internationalization strategy, can be by reinforcing cooperation with partners from other countries, can be by increasing quality in the preparation, implementation, monitoring, and follow-up of European and international projects, and also by innovative and improved way of operating towards their target groups, by providing, for example, more attractive programs for learners and improved qualifications of teaching and training staff. But it also can lead to more modern, dynamic, committed, and professional environment inside the organizations. And how does it happen? By integrating good practices and new methods into daily activities, by open to synergies with organizations active in different fields, and by planning strategically the professional development that their staff in relation to individuals' needs and organization goals. So here we have a lot of reasons to think that transnational cooperation is really needed. And in the long run, the combined effect of the several thousands of projects supported under these key actions is expected to have an impact on the system of education and training in the participating countries. And the last but not the least, we have EPALE, the Electronic Platform for Adult Learning in Europe, which is an initiative of the European Commission funded by the Erasmus Plus program. And it can be a very important tool for transnational cooperation in adult education institutions. Like it is mentioned here, it is open to all actors involved in adult education, such as teachers, trainers, policymakers, all can benefit from this tool. This site offers interactive networks, enabling users to link with others all around Europe, using, for instance, a blog or that feature of partner search. The web link is not mentioned here, but anyone that just Google on EPAL, for instance, will easily find out this platform. It will engage these adult education actors to discussions. And for example, in some cases, it might inspire them on thematics to be approached in an Erasmus Plus project. Among many tools and content, EPALE also offers instruments of specific interest of Erasmus Plus beneficiaries or potential ones. Like there is in that platform a calendar of courses and education events happening in other countries. And you can search and also try to participate under your Erasmus Plus program, and promoting this way structured courses and training events like workshops and conferences. So EPAL can guide you in a way to find out where these conferences and workshops are organized. Well, basically, EPAL gives the necessary visibility to adult education and collect all relevant information about this sector. I hope, well, I'm not taking too much time. I'm finishing here my presentation. I hope I could have transmit the message that I would like to transmit. And thank you. If you need anything, I can give you my email, or APEFA can also make the contact with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eugenia, for your presentation. We will be expecting good news soon. And thank you for also being available to answer any questions, or for after anyone can ask questions to you. Thank you. In fact, Erasmus Plus has been a powerful tool to exchange practices international. In fact, when we go and share practice with other friends from other countries, we learn from them. We teach them, we pass them our expertise also, but we also learn with our colleagues from other groups. So in fact, one mobility, one group can create many fields of expertise and of experiences. Thank you once again, Eugenia. Our last presentation is entitled Adult Education Beyond the COVID-19 Pandemic. In times like the one we are living due to the COVID-19 pandemic, it's a subject that obviously has to be spoken this afternoon. So from the Director General of Employment of the European Commission, Martina is going to talk to us about adult education beyond the COVID-19 pandemic. Martina, if you please.
Thank you very much, and I'm delighted to be with you, Sarah, this afternoon, and all the colleagues. I hope the title of my presentation is not more wishful thinking than actual reality, but I think it's an important time to talk about this because, of course, we're at a milestone here, and Eugenia has talked about it. We're just beginning the new funding programs, and Erasmus Plus will be launched soon and late in the spring. And of course, we are preparing a new decade, or at least 5 years of policy priorities for the future. And last week, in fact, the Education Committee, I think they adopted their resolution on the framework for European cooperation in education and training. It's also quite sad because now they're adopting things in written procedures, so we don't have all the fuss and the excitement of the ministers coming to Brussels to actually adopt these things. But okay, I guess on the one hand it means things go smoothly, go quickly perhaps. But I think it's also a moment to celebrate, well, your own anniversary, of course, your 10th anniversary as the Portuguese Association for Adult Education and Training. And to coincide with that, and I didn't think about it until you asked me to come and speak, but it's also, of course, the 10th anniversary of the European Agenda for Adult Learning, which was also adopted as a resolution in 2011. And it's the kind of continuation and what's next in that will take us, I guess, beyond this COVID pandemic. But I think it's also a tribute to Portugal to say that, you know, it's becoming a tradition to have lifelong learning on your agenda during the presidency, because of course the Lisbon strategy is now coming of age, 21st birthday. And of course it really put lifelong learning on the map in 2000. And since then, most of the European Commission and also the Parliament and the Council documents have really, you know, been trying to move forward the lifelong learning perspective in their policies. And of course, following the Lisbon strategy in 2001, then we had the Making Lifelong Learning a Reality, the communication from the Commission that was taken up then in a council resolution as well. And since then, you know, that has sort of formed or informed our policies throughout education and training. And of course, it's been a generation almost of success and progress. And of course, your creation and the creation of the adult learning agenda are some of those successes in the sector. Also the creation of EPALA, which Eugenia referred to. It has been, of course, important for making contacts, but also it really has proved its worth, if you like, in the past year, because since the COVID pandemic started, of course, practitioners and teachers and educators have turned towards the platform for inspiration, for materials, resources to exchange practice. So it really has become a hub for the adult education sector. And that is good. And now we have over 80,000 registered participants. But of course, looking back on the decade and on the last 2 decades, not everything is the way we would have wanted it. You know, we had the benchmark for 2020 that 15% of adults should be participating in training or education in the last month before the labor force survey was taken. And of course, that's not the case. We have less than 11%, and you know yourselves, this is very unevenly spread throughout member states. So ensuring equal access then to learning opportunities continues to be the big challenge going forward. That, and of course, supporting the vulnerable groups and the disadvantaged groups, people like the ones supported by the Upskilling Pathways recommendation, which people who do not have the basic skills to continue their learning in an effective way. And these will, of course, continue to drive forward the policy, also the governance, because we know we have a very diverse sector, but it's also fragmented, and there's richness in that fragmentation, but nevertheless it has to be governed well and brought together. And of course, this is why all your networking and partnership projects are contributing to this. And this is why we have the national coordinators for adult learning as part of the agenda, which of course we are also planning to continue their activities under the new Erasmus Plus funding. And we will prepare for the continuation of their work. And of course, driving our policies beyond this current period is the European Pillar of Social Rights. And the Commission will shortly adopt an action plan on how that can be better implemented. And the Portuguese presidency will have a summit again in May on implementing this pillar. And of course, we know that the first principle is the right to quality and inclusive education, training, and lifelong learning. And that, along with the Commission's policy on a strong social Europe for just transitions, the just transition to a greener Europe and the just transition to a digital Europe, which works for everybody. These are the main goals of the current Commission, and they are, of course, underpinned by all our future policies in education and training. And many of these have now been put in place because, as you know, the education and training 2020, the priorities were valid till the end of last year, 2020. So we now have the European Skills Agenda on the one hand and the European Education area on the other, two big packages that were adopted in 2020. And if I could first perhaps say something about the European Skills Agenda, it is globally supporting a lifelong learning, as is the European area of education, and together they span the life cycle. And the European education area is looking more at school education and higher education, but of course, education for all as well. And the European Skills Agenda is then looking at vocational education and training, but also the continuing learning of adults throughout their working life and beyond. So for the first time, the skills agenda, the Commission's skills agenda is really focused on upskilling and reskilling. And there are a number of proposals for action there, the Pact for Skills, which will mobilize employers and businesses to upskill the workforce. And of course, implementing skills strategies. And I know Portugal has been very busy in the past few years developing its own national skills strategies, in which the learning for low-skilled adults is very prominent there. And of course, trying to match those skills strategies with the forecasts for the skill needs in the green and digital economy, and also beyond the disruption that's been caused now by COVID. And there's a big chapter in the skills agenda about empowering adults to learn. And of course, the big issue that we're looking at the moment is the funding mechanisms. How do you fund adults to learn throughout their lives? And we're looking at individual learning accounts and other funding mechanisms. And next week, on the 4th and 5th of March, there's a big conference on the individual learning accounts and how that could be used also to provide guidance and validation, but also to ensure that we have a high quality supply of adult education and training to go with it. And of course, the skills agenda is also looking at how we might document micro-credentials, because much of the learning that adults do is not towards a qualification. It's a small bite or just-in-time crash course, perhaps, to update their skills. And this will become more and more prominent as jobs change and people have to perhaps move slightly to a different work or to move to different tasks within their own job. And in the skills agenda as well, we have an action on skills for life. And these are the skills that one needs for all aspects of life, not just their work. And of course, this is very much related to adults' non-vocational and non-formal and informal learning. And I will come back to that in a minute, because we also have the recommendation for modernizing vocational education and training, which was announced in the skills agenda and then adopted as a recommendation under the German presidency. And that as well, although it has, of course, emphasis on young people's entry to working life and how to give them a broad and flexible route to work. A big part of modernizing VET is also to provide continuing vocational training. So vocational training for workers and for adults who want to return to work. That is all part of the VET recommendation. And then with regards to the European education area, one of the priorities across the board for all parts of education and training is the professionalization of staff, teachers and trainers, and how they also update their skills and keep them up to date, especially in view of digital change. And in parallel to that, we have the Digital Education Action Plan. And this action plan is broader than the existing one, because it also very much deals with non-formal and informal learning, as well as formal learning. So it will be looking to provide better digital equipment and software and hardware in education and training establishments, but also in upskilling both the teachers and the learners, so that Europe is ready for the digital transition. And of course, Eugenia referred to the Erasmus Plus, the new funding there, but of course there are also many new funding programs being renewed at the same time, the ESF, which is becoming ESF Plus, and of course the huge recovery and resilience facility, which is has been put in place to try and get us all out of the consequences of COVID-19. And at national level, countries are now, some of them have submitted and more of them are preparing their plans on how to spend this money. And in that exercise, there is a flagship envelope or funding for reskilling and upskilling. So I hope that all member states will really use this money also to develop the education and training opportunities. And perhaps just one more thing about the objectives, the ambitious objectives set in the skills agenda for adult participation in learning, because of course that is still a challenge. And the skills agenda has changed away from the labor force survey indicator of 4 weeks to a new indicator that looks at 12 months. And that, as you know, is the basis for the adult education survey. But also from 2022, the labor force survey will also be collecting data on the previous 12 months, so that we will have regular data on an annual basis as well to follow this. And I know that the council has been discussing, the commission proposed that we would reach 50% by 2025, that 50% of 25 to 64-year-olds would participate in a learning opportunity annually. But I think that the member states have probably found this a bit too ambitious and brought it down to something like 47. But we also want to see 70% of the 16 to 74-year-olds with at least basic skills, because if the pandemic has shown us anything, it has shown that everybody needs now to use digital devices, both at home and for school and at work, home office, and this has also flagged up a digital divide. The people who are most in need of education and training are also often the people who don't have perhaps the access to computers and digital equipment, but also don't have the know-how to use them. So we really have to pay attention to this. And there has been a lot of discussion about this, of course, on the EPALA platform, but also among directors general for education and for vocational training. It has been a recurrent theme and something that we really have to pay attention to and work towards a fair transition to the digital age, and also one that gives access to everybody. Because of course, we hope that we will get back to some sort of normality, and especially in adult education, we pride ourselves on face-to-face and on human contact, which is really an essential part of provision. But of course, giant steps have been taken to replace this for the moment online, and it is still work in progress, and it is still probably very patchy, but in any case, it's not going to go away. In the future, online provision will always be part of the offer, but in the future, it will be more blended presence and online provision. So that is all sort of underpinning the type of policies we have to put in place for the future, and how our adult education institutions have to continue to adapt and prepare themselves. But I would like then to come back to the skills for life, which is, if you like, the non-vocational part of adult learning that was referred to already, and which Erasmus Plus will continue to fund as a separate strand. And it is also not quite as well developed as the vet sector or some of the other areas developed in the European area of education. So we are looking forward to working with the Slovene presidency on a new resolution that would take this action forward. And we will be discussing with them in the coming weeks and months. And more than ever before, our experiences in the last year, I think, shows us as well that we have to keep adapting, keep learning how we manage change, how to build up our resilience to deal with the unknown and to deal with things that we don't fully understand. And the anxiety that this causes in families and in society, learning can really be a good activity to engage in. And of course, it is necessary in order to keep communities together. And open and democratic societies depend on active citizens who understand the information they're receiving and understand where the sources of that are, so that they can identify if it's misinformation or if it's fake. And it's also very important for a job, but of course it's important in your life. And it's important that older people have access to digital information, but also that they have access to learning, to understand more about the skills they need to use it, but also what they should look out for when using it. And hence this indicator we have on giving as many people as possible basic digital skills. But of course, it's much more than that, even though digital skills are becoming a basic skill as we have defined in the upskilling pathways recommendation as well. But here we're talking about skills like resilience and civic competence, but also financial literacy, because after the last crisis, many people suffered from not being able to run their household budget or their own economies very well. And of course, we now have a big need for environmental education, because everybody has to be part of the Green Deal and the green transition. And in this pandemic, we see the importance of health and understanding the pandemic, understanding vaccinations, understanding how the health service is also changing and moving online. So this aspect of non-formal and informal learning then, and non-vocational is hugely important for all citizens, and especially so for seniors and inactive people who are not necessarily at work or have other outlets or access to information. And these are the people who need it most. And of course, for the moment, distance and online learning can be part of this, but we also look to a future where local learning centers and libraries and community organizations, churches and NGOs, that these will all be important players in providing local learning opportunities and building resilience within the community. And of course, in this Skills for Life, we also want to make sure that the upskilling pathways basic skills offer is not only continued, but it's increased in scope, so that we reach many more low-skilled people who need learning most. And of course, we can take Portugal as a good practice here, because the Qualifica centers have really been ticking all the boxes on the upskilling pathways recommendation, and really shows, the initiative really shows how you can reach large numbers of adults and provide them with a new route to a qualification. And of course, this is also very closely linked to the key competences of her lifelong learning, which continue to be important part of the policy as well, and the validation of non-formal and informal learning if adults wish to do that. And of course, this will be also looking at micro-credentials in the context of validation, but also in the context of the European qualifications framework. And Europass will also soon be offering new opportunities to document what the learner has achieved, even if they haven't achieved a qualification, but that they'll be able to build up their own profile. And of course, EPALA will continue to be our flagship platform to communicate with the community and to have a bottom-up approach in which the stakeholders and the actors on the ground can communicate and cooperate and initiate new projects and new resources. So we look forward then to having a new council initiative in the autumn under the Slovene presidency on all of these issues. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Martina, for remember us the great coincidence between the 10th anniversary of APEFA and the 10th birthday of the adult learning agenda. It's important what Martina said, and also Rafael in his presentation, considering the COVID-19 outbreak and the pandemic, because there are key competences like the computing, the digital, that we need to learn. All adults, all of us should know how to access the computer, stay online. But during this last year, in fact, these competences has been almost necessary, the key one, to access the others. We can't, during this year, access any training if we don't know and if we don't have the knowledge of a computer or an email. And it's important and it's interesting to notice that. Other thing that this pandemic brought us is, and I'm going to use Martina words about the blended. We use the blended word for many things, but here maybe we should see what the pandemic brought us, the digital necessity of seeing things, and we can use them to develop when the pandemic is going to be over, because it will be over. When it will be over, we don't know for sure, but they will be. And we have to pay attention to the good practices that have been developed during this last year and make them count in the next agendas and in the next works that we are going to be developed. Thank you once again to our speakers, to Helena, to Rafael, Luisa, Eugenia, Martina, because we know that it was a huge effort to ask you to speak in English, but APEFA, like I said before, one of the goals is to create an international group that makes possible to know other countries' practices and then share it here in Portugal. But before we end, we have a question from our viewers on YouTube, and the question is for Eugenia Inácio. Are you ready, Eugenia? I'm going to read the question loud. Is from Luís Manuel Mourinha. Thank you, Luís, for your question. What do you think about the training teachers schools integrated in the K1 Act in adult education? as is happening today by the consortium organizations that is new in Portugal. You want me to repeat the question?
Let me see if I well understood. Okay, Zara. So this person is asking about the accreditation, the consortium on PA1, and what do I think about integrating schools?
Training teachers, schools, yes.
Well, what can I say? We are talking about here at education schools or the regular teaching schools where that
the question is about the training teacher schools. Maybe like is in English, maybe you can answer concerning both of them. Well,
I can say, what can I say about in the general way of speaking on consortiums is that it exists to help in particular small institutions to participate in this program and in a certain way of speaking in transnational cooperation. Because if you have any kind of institution that is with small resources, it's a small dimension institution, sometimes it's very hard to participate in this program, this kind of programs. We hope with the new generation it become easier, but that's a point and sometimes an obstacle to participate in our program. So in that sense, if the schools could be all together in way to exchange either staff and now in the future learners, in my opinion, this could be much easier to increase participation in the program. So if I well understood your question, I'm sorry if I'm not, but the main idea here is that the consortiums are very important for any small institution. And I would say also the ones with experience and also with some dimension can be also important because it can bring others to the program. So consortium, in my opinion, it's very important, and I hope everyone can understand the idea behind it and can integrate this way of participating in the program.
Thank you, Eugenia. Hope, Luis, that you are listening to us, that we answered your question. If we're not, please let us know, and Eugenia and the rest of the team will guarantee that your question is answered. Well, I don't know if any of my colleagues wants to say something before we end. Okay, so no one wants to ask any more questions. I will thank you once again to all our speakers, once again for the effort of speaking in English. This was our experience that allows us to share what we've been talking here and made it broadcasting worldwide, still in Europe, but all worldwide. Thank you to all of our viewers. Thank you to the questions. Thank you for your words of recognition to all, your kind words. Thank you for congratulating APEFA on her 10th birthday. And be safe. Join us on our next activity on the 22nd of March. It's the third activity. For those who just joined us or joined us during this presentation, we're celebrating the 10th year of APEFA, and until October the 22nd, that was the day when APEFA was formally created, we are going to develop activities. We'll be hosting activities each 22 of these months, and in March we will wait for you. So pay attention to our website, to our Facebook page, on YouTube, and what can I say? Be safe. Thank you in behalf of APEFA. Thank you all, and see you soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.